The story is set in the Joseon dynasty era, when a king was on his way to visit one of his concubines. The concubine waited with great anticipation, especially when she heard footsteps approaching her chamber. But she was shocked to see that it wasn't the king who arrived, but a handsome man in a long robe. The concubine tried to protect herself by pointing a knife at him, but the man calmly approached her. Unexpectedly, he bit her neck, causing her to collapse weakly. The king, who had just arrived and witnessed the scene, was both heartbroken and powerless, and it turned out to be just a story being read by the crown prince named Jung Hyun. It turned out that Prince Jung Hyun enjoyed writing novels, and this was his third novel titled The Vampire Who Preyed on the King's Women, who had a close friend and personal bodyguard named Kim Sung-yeol.
자네의 그 뛰어난 문장력을
주상전하께서도 참관한다 하시니
어떠할 것 같은가?
음란사생이 아깝지 않을.
That night, Sung-yeol met his lover, Myung-hee. They looked like a romantic couple, and they were very happy because in 15 days they would be getting married.
일이 너를 안 떠냐? 응?
오라버니!
명희야! 은혜한다 명희야!
In the palace, the king spoke to Prince Jung Hyun, telling him that it was time for him to prepare himself to become the next king. Prince Jung Hyun did not respond. Instead, he stared at the corpse of the concubine lying stiff, with 2 puncture marks on her neck. It turned out that Prince Jung Hyun's third novel was not just a story or a legend, but a terrifying reality within the palace. The concubine's body was immediately burned, for fear that she might turn into a vampire. Not long after, Sung-yeol arrived. Full of curiosity, he asked why Prince Jung Hyun had been searching for books about vampires for the past 3 months, and why so many concubines had suddenly died. Prince Jung Hyun tried to cover up the fact that there were vampires inside the palace.
이빨에 물린 상처가 있었사옵니다.
The next day, Prince Jung Hyun took Sung-yeol to the bamboo forest. Suddenly, a shadowy black figure flashed past them. Sung-yeol tried to attack the figure, but it floated and vanished like the wind. In a cave, the king stood before a vampire. The vampire reminded him that 200 years ago, when Goryeo was on the verge of collapse, the king's ancestor had come to him. He sought the vampire's power to uphold the kingdom and become a ruler. In return, his descendants would serve the vampire for eternity. The king bowed, unable to refuse. That was why the vampire roamed the palace, feeding on the blood of the king's concubines. Sung-yeol and Prince Jung Hyun sat with the mysterious man from earlier. Prince Jung Hyun revealed that the one who lived in the palace and ruled over the kings was a blood-drinking vampire named Gui. It turned out that the old man was also a vampire, named Hai Seo. However, unlike Gui, he was a guardian vampire who lived to punish vampires that broke the rules. Hai Seo had a secret plan to help them get rid of Gui. In 2 days, there would be a total lunar eclipse, during which the vampire's power would weaken. He told them to meet him on that day, and he would prepare his secret plan. When they returned from Hai Seo's residence, Prince Jung Hyun said that he had written the details of the secret weapon in his notebook. He instructed that if anything happened to him, the book should be sent to Sung-yeol, and Sung-yeol would have to take his place.
반드시 저 안을 지킬 것이옵니다.
At Hai Seo's residence, Gui came and attacked him, even tearing off one of Hai Seo's arms. Gui was shocked to see that the person before him was the teacher he had destroyed 200 years ago, yet still alive. He opened his teacher's robe and saw a beating heart behind the bare skeletal frame.
네가 생각하는 것만큼 인간 위에 군림하며 살 것입니다.
He then took his teacher's wooden sunsa knife, a special blade meant to destroy vampires, and plunged it into his teacher's chest. In the palace, Prince Jung Hyun was reading his notebook when Gui suddenly lifted and slammed him down. Gui read Prince Jung Hyun's journal and saw the names written there, suspecting they were people connected to the secret weapon meant to destroy him. Calmly, Gui said he would capture everyone involved, including Prince Jung Hyun. He ordered the head eunuch to arrest the prince, and of course the head eunuch obeyed. Sung Yeol was on his way to Prince Jung Hyun's residence when he saw the head eunuch ordering his men to seal the prince's quarters and search for several people. They were also ordered to capture Sung Yeol, who was branded a traitor, because the kingdom had made an agreement with Gui. Anyone intending to destroy Gui was considered a traitor. Sung Yeol immediately spurred his horse. By nightfall, he arrived at Hai Seo's residence. Suddenly, Hai Seo's severed arm grabbed him and pulled him into the house. He was shocked to see Hai Seo lying on the floor. The vampire told him to come closer. As Sung Yeol approached, Hai Seo suddenly bit his neck. It was certain that from this moment on, Sung Yeol would become a vampire. He did this because he wanted to transfer his power to Sung Yeol, so that he would become the only vampire capable of fighting Gui. Hai Seo also warned him never to remove his black robe. Sung Yeol finally regained consciousness after 3 days of being unconscious. He was already wearing a black robe, seemingly put on him by the severed hand. Sung Yeol staggered back to the city. He was shocked to hear people talking about Prince Jung Hyun's betrayal. They were gathered in front of the palace gates, where severed heads of the executed were lined up along with the accusations against them. Sung Yeol wept when he saw his friend's name there. He pushed his way forward, only to be even more shocked when he saw his father's name among the victims. Instantly, he screamed and raged, his eyes turning red and his fangs growing long. Suddenly, he was struck on the head, knocking him unconscious. When Sung Yeol regained consciousness, he was bound inside Gui's vampire cave. He was shocked to see the bodies of Prince Jung Hyun's wife and child lying stiff on the ground. Gui noticed that Sung Yeol had already been bitten by a vampire, but wondered why he had not yet drunk blood. Sung Yeol should have died if he did not drink blood within half a day.
갈기갈기 찢어 죽일 것이야!
He grabbed Sung Yeol and asked if it was his teacher, Hai Seo, who had bitten him. But Sung Yeol spat in Gui's face, enraging him.
그럼 내게 이 나라를 줘.
당당히 태양 아래 나설 수도 없고 다 끝난 게 아니다.
Soon, the sound of Myung-hee's cries calling for Sung Yeol could be heard. Gui took her hostage by placing a knife to her neck. He cut Myung-hee's arm, prompting Sung Yeol to run toward her, but Gui stabbed him with the knife. Gui said Sung Yeol would die if he did not drink Myung-hee's blood, and added that Myung-hee would never give her life to save someone who had already turned into a vampire. Unexpectedly, Myung-hee stood up and thrust herself onto the knife Gui was holding. Overcome with rage, Sung Yeol pushed Gui with all his strength, hurling him into the rocks until the stones collapsed, crushing Gui's body. Sung Yeol immediately embraced Myung-hee. She asked her lover to drink her blood so that he could stay alive and fulfill his ambitions.
이러세요.
120 years later, a young man ran happily through the market. Of course, we already know he was not a young man, but a girl disguised as one. She was Jo Young-sun. Young-sun looked very happy because she had managed to contact the scholar, Seok-gol. If lucky, that scholar could become her customer. That night, Young-sun went to the Giseng house to meet the scholar in question, carrying a squirrel in her sleeve because its leg was injured. She finally came face to face with the scholar, separated by a curtain. The scholar was known to have many books. In 3 months, he had bought over 100. It turned out that the scholar was Sung Yeol. Since becoming a vampire, he would live forever. Sung Yeol asked whether Young-sun could obtain any book. She confirmed she could. Sung Yeol then asked her to find Prince Jung Hyun's notebook. However, Young-sun seemed unfamiliar with the book, and did not even know if Prince Jung Hyun was a Joseon prince. Suddenly, the squirrel in Young-sun's sleeve ran to the table and onto Sung Yeol's lap. Without thinking, Young-sun pulled aside the curtain and searched Sung Yeol. Once she found the squirrel, it bit Young-sun's hand, drawing blood. As you might guess, this triggered Sung Yeol's vampire instincts. Sung Yeol's eyes widened at the sight of Young-sun's blood. He turned his face away to hide his reddening eyes and lengthening fangs. Yang-sun is asked to find several books within 3 days. After Yang-sun leaves, Sung Yeol talks with his 2 servants, Su-hyang and Ho-jin. Sung-yeol is looking for that notebook to find out what Prince Jung-hyun's actual plan was to eliminate Gui. He pulls out 2 books and compares them. Prince Jung-hyun's pen name is Lustful Scholar. It was written by Lustful Scholar with the main character named Hyu-yul, which is Prince Jung-hyun's childhood name. His 2 servants are shocked by the similarities between the 2 books. It turns out that Prince Jung-hyun's name has been erased from history.
이 서책이 퍼지기 시작한 것이 그분의 기록을 가진 자다.
At home, Yang-sun tells a story to her stepsister named Dam. She tells the story of the Scholar of the Night.
어떤 밤선비전 이야기가 마구마구 떠오르는 거지.
At that time, dozens of women and young girls were being held captive and were about to be sold by a group of evil men.
천삼태 일당이 그리 팔아넘긴 여인이
Then came a man known as the Scholar of the Night. He swiftly exterminated all those evildoers with ease.
그렇게 우리의 밤선비님
After finishing the story, Yang-sun says that if the Scholar of the Night book sells well, she will use the money to treat Dam's leg so she can walk again. It turns out that what Yang-sun told her sister was a real event. Sung-yeol truly is the Scholar of the Night who eliminated a group of criminals. Sung-yeol destroys the criminals he has bitten using a sunsa wood stake, and then he burns them to ensure that those he bit disappear and do not turn into vampires. Meanwhile, Gui senses that Sung-yeol has successfully turned someone into a vampire, so he begins searching for Sung-yeol's whereabouts.
쥐새끼 마냥 잘도 숨어다니는구나. 풀어줄 수가 있겠느냐? 당당히 내 앞에 모습을 드러내 보란 말이다.
On a sunny day, Yang-sun gathers with some children while telling the story of the Scholar of the Night. Soon after, 2 men arrive to collect her debts. If she doesn't pay them soon, they threaten to sell Yang-sun's family.
이달 안에 싹 다 갚을 것입니다.
그 안에 다 정리해.
그 큰 돈을 어찌 사하라네.
Meanwhile, Sung-yeol and Ho-jin go to the place where the book Buja Wi Ok was published. The location is on a hill, far from any village or city. When they arrive, the place is deserted. They are shocked to find a tub filled with corpses, all with sword slashes on their necks.
음란 서생을 찾느니가
While Yang-sun is selling the Scholar of the Night book to some girls, a man named Lee Yoon approaches her to talk. He tells her that she resembles a friend from his past to whom he once gave something precious.
너와 내가 나눠 가지자꾸나. 딱 봐도 진귀한 물건인 듯한데.
At the same time, many soldiers arrive looking for someone, causing chaos. Yang-sun runs inside to hide and enters Sung-yeol's room, thinking it is empty, and dares to change her clothes. However, Sung-yeol is actually in the room and sees Yang-sun's disguise. Then Sung-yeol confronts her, and Yang-sun appears frightened. She begs him to help cover up her disguise from the soldiers. At first, he refuses, but in the end, he agrees to help her.
은혜를 잊지 않겠다. 내 구경꾼을 청한 적이 없는 듯한데 이만 나가 주시겠소.
At the palace, Lee Yoon meets his grandfather, the king. The king angrily throws a scroll in front of Lee Yoon. The scroll contains a petition to remove Lee Yoon from his position as crown prince. Meanwhile, pamphlets are being spread among the people. The pamphlets state that Lustful Scholar is a story about Prince Sedong, Lee Yoon's father. It tells of Prince Sedong's unjust death and claims that the ones who falsely accused him of plotting a coup were power-hungry nobles, including the king himself. It also mentions that the same thing happened 120 years ago. The king, who also sees the pamphlet, argues with Lee Yoon. Sung-yeol believes that it was not the king or anyone else who framed Prince Sedong, but rather, Gui was the one behind it. Sung-yeol says that he witnessed Gui eliminate 2 princes.
귀보단 내가 먼저 음란 서생을 찾아야 한다. 정년세자 저하를 알고 있는 것이 분명하다.
Inside a cave, there is a young girl in Gui who is holding one of the news pamphlets spreading among the people. Gui says he killed Prince Sedong because the prince tried to destroy him using a secret plan. Gui tells the girl to look behind her, where Prince Sadong's corpse lies.
내 가지고 있던 정연세자 비망록을 훔쳐가서 날
After that, Gui kills the girl by drowning and biting her. On the other side, Ho Jin delivers the books entrusted by Yang Sun to Sung Yeol. One of them is a book written by Prince Jung Hyun, which tells about Gui, a vampire who lives in the kingdom. Sung Yeol becomes even more curious about who Lustful Scholar really is and how he could know so much about Prince Jung Hyun. While on her way home, Yang Sun is attacked by a girl who has been turned into a vampire by Gui. Fortunately, Sung Yeol arrives just in time to save her. Gui realizes this and reveals that it was actually a trap to find out Sung Yeol's whereabouts. At the same time, Yang Sun senses something strange and asks Sung Yeol whether he is not human. Sung Yeol successfully kills the vampire girl with his sword, turning her into ashes. He carries Yang Sun out of the forest, but Gui chases after them, drawn by the scent of blood. To fool Gui, Sung Yeol stabs Yang Sun in the heart with his sword. After they escape the forest, Sung Yeol throws both himself and Yang Sun into the river.
숨이 안 쉬어져.
And he kisses her to help her survive. His method works. Yang Sun regains consciousness, and they climb ashore.
제발.
He then takes her to his place. Sung Yeol treats the wound on his arm by applying his blood to Yang Sun's wound. Then he asks Su Hyang to help change Yang Sun's clothes. Sung Yeol returns to the forest to retrieve Yang Sun's bag, which contains a book titled Father and the Child's Desire. However, the book has already been taken by Gui.
사동세자가 빼돌린 비망록을 가지고 있는 게
Amid the bustling market, Li Yun and his soldiers wait for Yang Sun, who never arrives. Meanwhile, Yang Sun has regained consciousness, and Sung Yeol asks her to talk with him. Sung Yeol asks Yang Sun to give him the information about where she got the books. However, Yang Sun says she will take him to her regular book supplier, and Sung Yeol agrees. At the palace, the king and his soldiers gather. They demand that Li Yun be removed from the throne because he is the son of Prince Sadong, who is known as a conspirator. The king disagrees with that opinion.
너희들 목부터 베어버릴 것이다.
Prime Minister Lee Pil-ju meets with Gui, revealing himself as Gui's servant. He reports that the king does not agree to dethrone Li Yun. The king is only interested in completing construction projects and preserving the royal bloodline.
정연세자 비망록을 빼돌리다니요.
이자를 찾으면 김성렬도 만날 수가 있으려나.
선배님 같이 가시죠.
Sung Yeol and Yang Sun go to the most complete bookstore in Joseon to search for a book.
아저씨,
내가 모르면 뭐 거의 뭐 없다고 봐야.
Sung Yeol asks Yang Sun to leave him, but at first, she refuses because she wants to repay his kindness. He insists, and Yang Sun agrees to leave him to continue searching for the book. On her way home, Yang Sun feels like she's being followed by a man, but Sung Yeol manages to save her.
누가 쫓아오고 있었습니다.
The man turns out to be someone sent by Su Hyang. As a protective measure, Sung Yeol gives Yang Sun a necklace containing incense to protect her from wild animals and vampires.
부름을 보니 쉬 그칠 비가 아닙니다. 짙은 어둠 사 오면 그게 끝에 우리를 비춰.
At the palace, Prince Li Yun shoots an arrow at a man who has been spying on him. The man confesses to being an envoy of Prime Minister Lee Pil-ju and claims to have evidence of his crimes. Prince Li Yun asks the king to punish the Prime Minister, but the king decides to interrogate him first. Sung Yeol meets Su Hyang, who is jealous of his attention toward Yang Sun. Understanding this, he explains that he is protecting Yang Sun only to obtain the secret notebook and destroy Gui. Meanwhile, the debt collector threatens to sell Yang Sun and her family. Prince Lee Yoon, who witnesses the scene, pays off her debt and threatens the man not to bother her again.
아이 뭔 풍을 그리 살벌하게 치십니까?
Sung Yeol sees Gui at the well where Prince Sedong was imprisoned. He remembers that Prince Sedong once said that the secret plan to get rid of Gui involved a human. Yang Sun tells Sung Yeol that she has found Prince Junghyun's journal. They head straight to Joseon. But upon arriving, Sung Yeol sees a woman who resembles his former lover, Myung-hee. He runs to her and embraces her, leaving Yang Sun stunned.
잘못 보셨습니다. 사람을 착각하시오.
He is beaten by the townspeople for being seen as disrespectful toward a woman. Sung Yeol collapses unconscious, and Yang Sun tries to call for help. Sung Yeol dreams of a past event in which he bit Myung-hee inside Gui's cave. After biting her, he ran into the forest, overwhelmed with guilt and denial that he was no longer human.
금수의 세계에 온 것을 환영한다.
Sung Yeol returned to Gui's cave and watched from behind a rock as Gui prepared to burn Myung-hee's body. Yang Sun brings Sung Yeol to her home. She feels sorry for him, as he keeps mumbling in his sleep, blaming himself for Myung-hee's death. Yang Sun touches Sung Yeol's cheek while crying, and her tears fall onto his cheek, causing him to wake up. Yang Sun returns to the bookstore to meet the owner. When she arrives, she finds the owner speaking with a man who turns out to be her father. Yang Sun is surprised to learn that her father knows about the existence of Prince Junghyun's journal. However, he warns her that if the book is found, it could put their family in danger. This makes Yang Sun uneasy. Yang Sun returns to the bookstore and meets Sung Yeol. The books are in a messy state. Sung Yeol gives her money and asks her to hand over the book immediately. He suspects that someone named Wei Sun knows about the book's whereabouts. Yang Sun asks Sung Yeol to keep it a secret that Wei Sun knows about Prince Junghyun's diary. If Sung Yeol agrees to keep it confidential, she will continue searching for the book. At the palace, the king is speaking with Prince Lee Yoon about the delayed construction of the new palace, caused by a poor harvest that has made it difficult to collect taxes for the project. Prince Lee Yoon suggests halting the construction of the new palace, but the king refuses. The king orders Prince Lee Yoon to capture the lustful scholar. He says that if the prince succeeds, it will help dispel the rumors surrounding his title as the traitor's son. Prince Lee Yoon agrees. Sung Yeol gathers with his two servants. He plans to hold a memorial for Prince Sedong at Jangboi between 1 and 3 p.m. Attendees will wear white clothing. Then, he will distribute a fake version of Father and the Child's Desire. The purpose is to identify the person who knows the book is fake, as he believes that person is the lustful scholar.
장마이랍니다. 오색한.
Sung Yeol's plan reaches the palace, and the king orders soldiers to arrest and stop the event. However, the soldiers fail to capture him. This is because Sung Yeol has prepared fake soldiers to secure the villagers and keep them hidden from the royal guards.
가짜 광군을 준비해두지 않았더라면
사람들을 마을까지 모두 안전하게 돌려보내거라.
Once the situation is safe, the villagers are allowed to return home safely. Yang Sun runs into the forest to look for Sung Yeol, worried that he might have been caught. Sung Yeol appears before her just as she falls. The blood from Yang Sun's leg excites his vampire instincts. However, he manages to restrain himself, helps bandage her wound, and carries her back to the village.
저는 선배님이 진심으로 걱정되었습니다.
함께 이곳에서 밤을 보낼 수밖에 없겠구나.
In the village, many pamphlets are being spread telling of Gui's existence, causing unrest among the people.
음란소생의 흡혈기 전에 있는 이야기입니다.
뭐야 이것이?
흡혈귀를 섬긴다. 이 뭔 소리야?
The king, upon learning of the leaflets, orders his soldiers to find out who is distributing them.
벽설 본다면 가만히 있지 않을 것이요.
내 청년세아자께서 쓰신 서책을 가지고 있다.
In Gui's cave, there is a woman who resembles Myung-hee. Gui devises a plan and instructs her to bring Sung Yol before him. The woman agrees. Yang Sun is asleep at the desk in the bookstore after searching for the book requested by Sung Yol. Sung Yol sees her sleeping beneath sheets of books and papers she had written on. When Yang Sun wakes up, she realizes her leg no longer hurts and is confused. It turns out that Sung Yol had treated her leg without her knowing. Prince Li Yun was speaking with his soldiers. He recalled his father's message before his death about a book containing a story of a king who served a vampire. His father asked him to find Mr. Seo Jongdo to examine Prince Junghyun's records. When Prince Li Yun saw his father's body, he overheard the king's subordinates talking that the chief eunuch had met with Mr. Seo Jongdo, but the records were not found. A guard suddenly reported that a soldier named Kim had died, while another soldier, Choi Gab, was missing. It turned out that Choi Gab had been taken by Sung Yol to his hideout. Sung Yol ordered his servant to track down the whereabouts of Prince Sadong's child's guard before Gui could find them first.
사람들을 더 붙여서 행적을 내가 먼저 찾아내야 한다.
In the morning, Yang Sun talked with the villagers about the scattered leaflets. During the conversation, her father approached and told her to stop searching for Prince Junghyun's journal. He said he had worked with Prince Sadong for 7 years. After the prince's death, anyone involved with the book was arrested, and it could endanger their family.
음속골 선비 이외 그 책을 찾아다닌다니까.
외손이 아저씨는 어디 간 거야?
애비가 세자 저하 일하는 거 발각이라도 되면은.
Yang Sun went to Sung Yol's residence to return the money he had given her. However, Su Hyang refused the return. She went back to the village and met the man who owed her money, but it turned out the debt had already been paid off by Prince Li Yun. Then she went to meet the prince and successfully found him. The prince took her to the market to buy shoes.
그럼 오십시오.
잠시만요.
However, at the market, the prince realized he was being watched. He and Yang Sun ran away. The man was blocked by the prince's soldiers and admitted he was Su Haiyang's messenger. Yang Sun went to meet Su Haiyang. As they were arguing, Sung Yol arrived and admitted that the man was his messenger, assigned to follow her and gather information about Wai San.
오늘은 내일도 못하겠다고 하니.
아무리 생각해도
At night, Prince Li Yun and Yang Sun drank together. After a few glasses, the prince left Yang Sun to attend to other matters.
저도 이 자만 비우고 갈 것이니.
Yang Sun stayed in place and felt as if she had dreamed of meeting Sung Yol.
또 보이네. 선비님이 보이고 그래도 선비님이 걱정됩니다.
The prince returned to the place where they had been drinking shoes. However, she was no longer there.
잘 들어갔으려나.
Inside the cave, Gui killed a woman in front of the king and the prime minister. The king ordered Gui to kill him as well, but Gui refused. Instead, he asked the king to bring the lustful scholar before him.
말로 만들어지는 게 아니거늘.
Sung Yol saw the woman's corpse killed by Gui. Yang Sun woke up in front of her house and found that her footwear had turned into new shoes. She believed the shoes had been given by Sung Yol, although at first she thought it was a dream, but it turned out to be real.
꿈이 훨씬 더 좋습니다. 꿈에서 웃기까지 하네. 그 땅인데
In the prince's chamber, he was eating mugwort soup with Wai San, but Wai San refused to eat. The prince told him that he had found Prince Junghyun's journal and that he could come to him any time. Sung Hyang ordered a man to move Yang Sun's family to Tamra, in front of Sung Yol. Suddenly, Ho Jin entered the room and reported that all the booksellers had been arrested by the soldiers. The booksellers were gathered in the middle of the field, where Gui was also present. Gui asked the booksellers about the bag that was brought. No one admitted to it, and he did not sense the same scent. Then he grabbed one of the sellers and bit his neck in front of the other sellers. Sung Yol witnessed the incident from his hiding place. Meanwhile, Sung Yol was searching for Yang Sun in the village. He found the necklace he had once given her lying on the ground, and feared that Yang Sun had been captured by Gui.
아이고, 형.
서둘러 그 아이의 행동을 살펴라.
It turned out she was looking for Prince Junghyun's journal at the bookstall. He approached her, put the necklace back on her, and warned her to keep it safe. They walked together through the forest. Sung Yeol slowed his pace so Yang Sun could walk beside him. Yang Sun asked about the cloth shoes and the dream she had, but Sung Yeol avoided answering, leaving her feeling embarrassed. When they reached her house, she said goodbye and told him she would go to Tamra Island to seek treatment for her younger sibling.
강령하십시오.
고생 많았다.
At the palace, the king ordered Prince Lee Yoon to capture the lustful scholar, but the prince refused. The king stressed that succeeding in the mission would prove he was worthy to become the next king. At that moment, the prince realized his secret leaflet was missing. His soldier reported that the loss occurred after sunrise, raising the suspicion that there was another vampire besides Gui. Prince Lee Yoon arrived at the palace, and the atmosphere was chaotic, with many traces of blood visible. He also suspected that all the booksellers had been bitten by Gui. He then questioned the prime minister about why he hadn't informed him of the plan to arrest the illegal booksellers.
말한 값의 반인.
Sung Yeol and Ho Jin went to the place where Prince Sadong's slaves were sold. He met the leader and asked about the 3 servants he was searching for. However, he was told that the servants had escaped a long time ago. Growing suspicious, he secretly followed the leader into a hidden room. There, he found Prince Lee Yoon and Hak Young. The room was filled with leaflets identical to those spread in the village, and he realized that the prince was the lustful writer.
세손이.
At his residence, he told Su Hyang and Ho Jin about the information he had discovered, that the lustful writer was actually the crown prince. Su Hyang had an idea to reveal the truth that happened 120 years ago and work together to bring down Gui. However, Sung Yeol had another plan. He intended to ask Wai Sun whether he had Prince Junghyun's journal or not. Yang Sun went to Sung Yeol's residence to deliver a letter. On her way home, she encountered Gui. However, Gui realized that the woman had been given a scent-masking aura from the necklace Sung Yeol had given her. Gui continued to follow Yang Sun, but Sung Yeol managed to save her.
산사나무 향갑으로도 남아있는
지금 바로 음석골로 가거라.
Sung Yeol and Gui fought fiercely in the forest.
개처럼 킁킁거리며
As the sun began to rise, Sung Yeol managed to throw the bag he was carrying into the sea. Gui, seeing that the sun was about to appear, felt the heat and tried to kill him. Sung Yeol managed to stab Gui, but shortly after, Gui turned the knife toward him. He was stabbed and coughed up a lot of blood, which caused him to lose consciousness. Yang Sun found Sung Yeol walking while in pain. He asked to be taken to a nearby house. Once they arrived, he fainted, leaving Yang Sun confused and worried. Ho Jin and Su Hyang felt hopeless because they couldn't find Sung Yeol, especially since the full moon night had arrived, which weakened Sung Yeol's powers.
사냥날을 잊으신 적은 단 한 번도 없었다.
Meanwhile, Yang Sun helped tend to Sung Yeol's severe wounds. She used plants from the forest to stop the bleeding.
일이 다치신 겁니까? 그간 무슨 일을 겪으신 겁니까?
When the full moon rose, Sung Yeol felt his body growing weaker because he hadn't drunk any blood. Yang Sun came to see him again, worried about his worsening condition.
선비님, 일어나시지요.
As she cried, her tears mixed with blood from his wound and entered Sung Yeol's mouth, awakening the vampire instinct within him. Sung Yeol then asked Ho Jin to take Yang Sun to the city while he returned with Su Hyang to satisfy his vampire needs. Elsewhere, Jo Sang managed to find Prince Junghyun's journal that he had hidden long ago. He intended to burn it to protect Yang Sun, but his wife thwarted the plan. In Gui's cave, Hye Ryong treated Gui's wounds and reported rumors about him circulating in Hwasung. However, Gui was unfazed. confident that humans were incapable of threatening his existence.
음란서생 딸 추정하면 어찌 되는지.
Ho Jin reported to Sung Yol that Sung Kyung Kwan's students and their teacher had been captured by royal soldiers. Sung Yol confronted them, declared himself the lustful scholar, and defeated the soldiers who attacked him. He then told the captured students to go with Ho Jin to a safe place. Meanwhile, Hak Young informed Prince Lee Yoon that the families of the booksellers had received gifts from the lustful scholar. This act was part of Sung Yol's plan to gain the people's sympathy and protect Prince Lee Yoon's reputation. Sung Yol visited the imprisoned Choi Do-gap. He revealed his identity as a vampire and pressured him to disclose information about Prince Jung-yoon's journal. Choi Do-gap admitted he didn't know the journal's location, but he had seen 5 names written on the last page, including a message for Kim Sung-yol. Meanwhile, Yang Sun, who wanted to meet Sung Yol, had her appearance changed to that of a woman by her sibling. On her way, Yang Sun expressed her support for Prince Lee Yoon in his fight against injustice.
그나마 그분이 나타나셔서.
In the middle of a crowded village, Yang Sun boldly revealed that the lustful scholar's leaflets exposed the truth about the kingdom. However, the situation became complicated when Hye Ryong tried to get Sung Yol's attention to carry out Gui's orders. Prince Lee Yoon then gathered his followers, admitted that he was the lustful scholar, and declared his determination to protect the people from injustice.
혹여 내가 목숨을 잃더라도
Sung Yol and his servant discussed how to protect the prince and fight Gui. Although his servant thought the plan was dangerous, Sung Yol remained resolute. Meanwhile, Gui slaughtered the soldiers who failed to capture the booksellers, forcing the king to accelerate the hunt for the lustful scholar.
그대를 아직까지 임금의 자리에 앉혀.
When Yang Sun met with Sung Yol, she asked why she had been told to go to Tamra. However, Sung Yol remained silent and told her to leave without giving an answer, deepening Yang Sun's doubts. Jo Saeng recalled the incident from 10 years ago when Soe Jung-do, Yang Sun's biological father, was bitten by Gui and killed by Sung Yol because he nearly harmed his daughter, Yang Sun. The memory instilled deep fear in him. Meanwhile, in Gui's cave, Hye Ryong reported her encounter with Sung Yol and revealed her identity as the Prime Minister's daughter. Gui noticed Hye Ryong's resemblance to Sung Yol's former lover and planned to use her to lure him. If the plan succeeded, Hye Ryong would be made Prince Lee Yoon's wife. Elsewhere, Choi Do-gap revealed to Prince Lee Yoon that the rebellion 10 years ago was not Prince Sadong's fault, but rather the result of Minister No Chang-soon's manipulation. He was rewarded with a position as a translator in Qing to cover up the truth. While in the lustful scholar's room, Sung Yol found many leaflets declaring Prince Lee Yoon as the lustful scholar, which were planned to be distributed in Hwasung. When the leaflets spread, Sung Yol planned to revive a female vampire to support the prince's claim that vampires truly existed in the kingdom, aiming to destroy Gui. The day of Yang Sun's departure to Tamra Island arrived. While packing her things, she realized her cloth shoes from Sung Yol were missing and asked for time to search for them.
정말 너도 징글징글하다.
죄송해요. 다녀올게요.
Meanwhile, Hak Young assured the prince that the leaflets would be distributed as scheduled. The prince was determined to carry out the plan to uphold the truth, just like his father, Prince Sadong. Tension peaked when the king, soldiers, and a young man sent by Prince Lee Yoon suddenly attacked the village. The king announced that the real lustful scholar was Yang Sun, and ordered his soldiers to publicly declare the discovery.
음란서생 역당들이다! 모두 축포해라! 집안을 샅샅이 뒤지고!
Sung Yol tried to save Yang Sun and her family by preparing a boat. However, his efforts were halted because Yang Sun's father was terrified upon seeing him.
사람 살려! 우리란 아이란데요.
혹 나를 아는가? 정연세자 비망록을 알고 있는가?
Meanwhile, the king and Gui discussed relocating Yang Sun to a secret location to prevent Sung Yol's interference. The king even offered Prince Lee Yoon as a guarantee if Gui agreed not to intervene. While in custody, Yang Sun asked her father why he was afraid of Sung Yol. Jo Sang said he saw Sung Yol as a murderer in the past. Soon after, soldiers took Yang Sun, Hak Young, and the others to be interrogated by the Prime Minister.
저 벽서들은 제가 쓴 것이 아닙니다.
아무것도 모릅니다요. 일대로 자복할 때까지 매우 쳐라.
Under pressure, Yang Sun finally confessed to being the lustful scholar to protect her father. At the palace, Prince Li Yun confessed to being the lustful scholar in front of the king. However, the king, who had known the truth all along, tried to stop the prince's plan to protect him from Gui's threat. The situation became even more complicated when one of the king's attendants revealed that Yang Sun was actually a woman. In his room, Sung Yol and his two servants discussed the information about Yang Sun's planned execution. He was determined to make a deal with Yang Sun's father to save them. As the situation grew more urgent, Sung Yol faced a difficult choice: saving Yang Sun while also destroying Gui, using Prince Junghyun's journal. Yang Sun woke up and saw her father unconscious in the prison cell. The minister approached her and offered a deal. If Yang Sun confessed to being the lustful scholar, her father and family would be spared. The offer overwhelmed her. She held the necklace Sung Yol had given her, hoping he would come to help.
궁에 사는 그 흡혈귀는 너 하나만 죽으면.
Meanwhile, Sung Yol discussed with his servant. He realized that Zhou Saiyang feared him because he had witnessed the killing of Seo Joang-do 10 years ago. Sung Yol planned to gain Zhou Saiyang's trust so that he would hand over Prince Junghyun's journal. Inside the cave, Gui spoke with Choi Chul-chung about the true identity of the lustful scholar captured by the king. He suspected that Sung Yol was involved in protecting the prisoner.
너무도 먹고 싶었거든.
Still uncertain, Yang Sun wondered whether sacrificing herself could help others. At that moment, Dam, her younger sibling, went to Sung Yol and brought Yang Sun's book, The Night Scholar. She begged Sung Yol to help save her sister and father.
제발 한 번만 더 살려주세요.
Sung Yol met with Zhou Saiyang and explained that he was a vampire, but different from Gui. He convinced Zhou Saiyang to help him by providing information about Prince Junghyun's journal in order to destroy Gui's threat. In the palace, Prince Li Yun reflected on his late father Prince Sedong's message, urging him to protect his followers. However, the king threatened to punish him if he interfered in the punishment of Yang Sun and the other prisoners. When the king ordered the punishment to begin, Yang Sun was forced to confess to being the lustful scholar to save her family.
제가 음란 선생입니다.
However, her father refused to accept it and claimed that he was the real lustful scholar. Still, the king decided that all the evidence pointed to Yang Sun. Zhou Saiyang made a shocking confession, stating that he was a follower of Prince Sedong and took responsibility for everything that had happened as a way to repay the prince's kindness. However, the king remained determined to punish all the prisoners, including Yang Sun and her father. That night, Sung Yol went undercover and masked Yang Sun's scent, using blood he brought to deceive Gui. When Gui came to inspect the prisoners, he couldn't detect Yang Sun's scent, but he suspected that she was the one being protected by Sung Yol.
사내라면 탐낼 만큼. 어찌 저 여인만 향이 없을까? 어차피 이 여인 곁엔
Prince Li Yun, standing near the well where Prince Sedong had been executed, felt disappointed in himself. This moment was observed by Gui and the Prime Minister's attendant, who were trying to figure out the true identity of the lustful scholar.
새 손을 보호하려 하는 것이냐? 아님,
Yang Sun and her father were taken to the palace by the king's soldiers. Zhou Sang left a message to be delivered to Sung Yol, saying that he had hidden the journal inside a Buddhist temple. The king brought Zhou Sang forward as the person behind the lustful scholar.
아버지가 안 나오셨습니다. 아버지!
네가 음란 소생이라고.
Gui interrogated him. Zhou Sang stepped in and admitted that he was the lustful scholar, with the intention of avenging Prince Sedong, who had been killed by a vampire. He also said that he knew about Prince Junghyun's journal, but had given it to someone else. Gui, enraged, almost bit him, but was stopped by Prince Li Yun.
정령 흡혈귀가 있다. 공표라도 할 작정인게요. 백성들이 보는 앞에서 처단을 할 것이니.
Suddenly, chaos erupted when the corpse of a concubine came back to life as a vampire. Sung Yol seized the opportunity to rescue Yang Sun. On their way, Yang Sun shared the location of Prince Junghyun's journal based on her father's message. But her joy turned to sorrow when she discovered her father's lifeless body. and wept in Sung Yeol's arms. Prince Lee Yoon watched as Yang Soon cried in front of her father's lifeless body. He asked a soldier what would happen to the woman. The soldier explained that Yang Soon would be made a slave and assigned to work at a government office in Yeonjo. Sung Yeol was determined to free her from that fate.
직접 나서시면 위험합니다.
Meanwhile, Sung Yeol successfully found Prince Jung-hyun's journal at the Buddhist temple. Upon opening it, he discovered Prince Jung-hyun's message of gratitude to him, along with a list of names who knew about the secret plan: Lee Bang-ho, Jung Chun-soo, Choi Yong-kyu, and Jung Gwem. Sung Yeol believed this information was crucial to defeating Gui. Deputy Minister No Chang-sun reported to the king that all the prisoners had taken poison to protect Prince Lee Yoon. The king expressed his determination to eliminate Gui and defend the nation. Together with Prince Lee Yoon, he held a meeting to discuss how to end the vampire threat.
죄의 경중에 따라 처벌하고 모두 발본색원되었어.
Meanwhile, Hai Ryong received Gui's order to monitor Yang Soon, as he believed Sung Yeol was connected to her.
죽은 체크의 여식을 출시하거라.
In the village, Prince Lee Yoon met Hak Young, who observed a change in the prince's demeanor driven by his strong purpose.
선택하신 그 길로 필시 연유가 있어 그러실 것입니다.
The prince also found Yang Soon, now a slave. However, Yang Soon resented him because of her father's death.
제게 씻지 못할 죄를 지었으니까요. 보고 싶지 않습니다.
On his way to see Yang Soon, Sung Yeol encountered Hai Ryong, who revealed information about her condition, causing him to worry.
하찮은 노비와 무슨 사이인지는 모르겠으나
사흘은 굶길 것이다.
When Yang Soon collapsed from exhaustion after hard labor, Ho Jin took her to Sung Yeol's residence after purchasing her from the Minister of Defense.
괜한 돈을 들인 것 같소. 조가 정신 좀 차려보시오. 내 목소리 들려?
However, Yang Soon fainted and had to be cared for by Sung Yeol. Prince Lee Yoon visited his mother, who confirmed the truth about the lustful scholar, though the prince did not respond. He asked for permission to stay the night with her, seeking moral strength. Sung Yeol asked Ho Jin to prepare a ship to take Yang Soon and her family to Tamra. However, Ho Jin doubted the decision, sensing that Sung Yeol had feelings for Yang Soon. Yet Sung Yeol insisted that his mission was to eliminate Gui and then disappear from the human world.
언니, 또 누굴 죽이려고 얼굴에 들이미는 게요? 그만해요!
Before the departure, Jo Sang-'s wife revealed a shocking truth to Yang Soon, that she was not Jo Sang-'s biological daughter, but the daughter of Seo Jung-do. The revelation left Yang Soon stunned and in disbelief.
제발 가란 말이다!
Sung Yeol met with Prince Lee Yoon and revealed his identity as a vampire, as well as a friend of Prince Jung-hyun. He asked the prince about his commitment to fighting Gui, but their conversation was interrupted by a summons from the king. The king then declared that the new palace would be the location to confront Gui. Meanwhile, Hye Ryong tried to secure her position as queen, pledging loyalty to Gui to protect herself and her mother.
너처럼 똑똑한 아이를 중전의 자리에 앉히면
Yang Soon, overwhelmed by sorrow, wandered aimlessly through the forest. She recalled her dream of living peacefully in Tamra with her family. In a state of despair, she attempted to end her life at a cliff. However, Sung Yeol arrived just in time to stop her, saving her from destruction. Yang Soon, in a state of despair, told Sung Yeol that she no longer had a reason to live. However, Sung Yeol calmly encouraged her to find that reason and pursue her desire. By the lakeside, he assured Yang Soon that her life was meaningful, especially considering her father's sacrifice, who gave his life so she could continue living. Sung Yeol's words awakened Yang Soon's spirit.
네 아비를 보내주거라.
부디 좋은 곳에서
Sung Yeol then brought Yang Soon to his home and asked her to stay there for her safety from the kingdom's threats. He also warned Yang Soon not to go out without permission, to avoid the risk of becoming a slave again.
정연세자 비망록은 찾으셨습니까?
보여주실 수 있으십니까?
When Yang-sun saw Prince Jung-hyun's journal, she was both amazed and puzzled at how her father could have kept such a secret. Sung-yeol explained that her father might have done it to protect her.
궁에 살고 있는 흡혈귀를 없앨 수 있는 그 흡혈귀와 맞서려.
너무도 험난한 일을 하십니다.
While in his room, Sung-yeol gave Yang-sun a box identical to the one owned by Prince Lee-yoon, which confused her about her relationship with her father.
귀하지. 세상에 딱 2개밖에 없는.
어찌 아버지께서 가지고 계셨던 거지?
Yang-sun began adapting to life in Sung-yeol's house, taking over tasks such as tidying up, washing clothes, and cooking. Though initially hesitant, Sung-yeol complimented her cooking. He also warned her not to overwork herself. Meanwhile, Gui planned to marry Hai Ryong to Prince Lee-yoon in front of her father. Upon hearing this, her father strongly opposed and rejected the idea of their marriage. Hai Ryong still asked Gui to make her his queen. In response, Gui offered to take her as his partner. However, the woman refused because she wanted a partner as a human. Sung-yeol continued studying the contents of Prince Jung-hyun's journal.
귀를 없앨 3가지 비책들과
뭘 그리 열심히 보십니까?
With Yang-sun's help, he realized that the names in the book might refer to specific character connections, which he used as a new clue. On the other hand, the king ordered his soldiers to monitor the prince's movements and planted spies in Hwayang-gak to gather information about Kim Sung-yeol. Sung-yeol went to Seo Jung-do's house in search of further clues. The housekeeper informed him that someone still visited the house during the anniversary of Seo Jung-do's death. That person lived in the Seorang region and worked as a tiger hunter. There, he met Baek In-hoo, a hunter who apparently held a grudge against vampires due to Seo Jung-do's death. Tensions escalated when Baek In-hoo attacked Sung-yeol.
내 놈과 귀를 없앨 날만을.
But in the end, Sung-yeol managed to escape despite being shot. Upon returning home, Soo-hyang treated Sung-yeol's wound.
양선영 데리고 가 이를 돕거라.
어서 다녀오세. 갑시다.
After recovering, Sung-yeol learned that Yang-sun had been sent to Hwayang-gak by Soo-hyang, which angered him, prompting him to search for her immediately. He found Yang-sun and warned her not to leave without his permission. Meanwhile, Baek In-hoo brought the box found from Yang-sun to Prince Lee-yoon. In their discussion, Baek In-hoo revealed that Seo-jin was suspected to be hidden by a vampire. However, the prince had yet to discover that Seo-jin was actually Yang-sun. In the forest, Prince Lee-yoon met Sung-yeol. They engaged in a heated argument over Sung-yeol's intentions and the accusation that he was a vampire like Gui. In anger, Sung-yeol grabbed the prince by the neck and claimed he was different because he had felt the pain caused by Gui's actions. However, their argument came to a halt when Yang-sun appeared and witnessed the confrontation. Sung-yeol took Yang-sun back home. On the way, Yang-sun asked how he met Prince Lee-yoon. Sung-yeol explained that he had been questioning why the prince hadn't shown up at Hwayang-gak if he truly intended to destroy Gui. He had heard rumors that the prince might have submitted to Gui. However, Yang-sun doubted that, as she had seen the prince visiting Hwayang-gak as if searching for someone. Yang-sun also mentioned the box she had, which resembled the prince's, and said there were only 2 in the world. Sung-yeol was surprised to hear this. He warned Yang-sun not to leave the house for the time being for her safety. Meanwhile, Baek In-hoo spoke with the prince about Yang-sun, revealing that she was Seo-jin. Her father raised Seo-jin as a boy because their family had difficulty producing male heirs. The prince revealed that Sung-yeol was a vampire who possessed Prince Jung-hyun's journal. Upon hearing this, Baek In-hoo warned the prince not to trust Sung-yeol, believing all vampires to be dangerous. Meanwhile, Hae Ryong was shot by an arrow while protecting the prince, making him feel guilty and care for her. However, it turned out that the person who shot her was her own servant, as part of a plan to gain Prince Lee-yoon's sympathy.
절 돌보신 겁니까?
나를 노린 자객인 듯한데.
The king and the prince discussed the marriage to Hae Ryong as part of their strategy to defeat Gui. However, Minister Choi Chul-chung grew suspicious of the plan, which seemed to be accepted too easily. Soo-hyang discussed with Sung-yeol the fact that the prince had discovered Yang-sun was Seo-jin. Yang-sun, who tried to eavesdrop on the conversation, was stopped by Ho-jin. While talking with Ho-jin, Yang-sun expressed that Sung-yeol had been acting strangely. Ho-jin tried to reassure her that Sung-yeol was no different from other men.
날아오는 화살을 맨손으로 탁! 가끔 눈빛도 막 이렇게 막.
Gui came to Hwayanggak and confronted Su-hyang to learn about Sung-yeol. She calmly acted as if she didn't know when Sung-yeol would return. Despite the pressure, Su-hyang successfully hid the important information. Sung-yeol approached the prince and apologized for his previous behavior. He explained that his goal was to fight Gui for the peace of the nation. They then went to Seo Jung-do's house, where Sung-yeol revealed what had happened 10 years ago. That he had killed Seo Jung-do, who had turned into a vampire, in order to save his child, Seo Jin.
쥐와 같은 흡혈귀로만 보이시는 겁니까? 이 단도로 저를 찌르십시오.
The wedding celebration of Prince Lee Yoon and Hai Ryong turned into chaos when Gui appeared. In a fierce battle, Baek In-hoo managed to wound Gui with his shot, but he was ultimately struck down by Gui along with other soldiers.
괜찮소. 정신 좀 차려보시오.
The king declared that the mission to destroy Gui now depended on the surviving maternal bloodline mentioned in Prince Jung-hyun's journal, Seo Jin, also known as Young-sun.
이길 수 있단 말씀이시옵니까?
자신을 바쳐야 할 그 아이들 손에는 귀게 바쳐라.
Young-sun saw Ho-jin lost in thought. Ho-jin revealed that Sung-yeol had gone far away and would not return, which saddened Young-sun and made her worried about his whereabouts. Sung-yeol was shocked to learn the truth. That the third part of the secret plan referred to Seo Jin, also known as Yang-sun. He realized that Yang-sun's safety was now the final key to defeating Gui. Ho-jin told Yang-sun that Sung-yeol had gone to the palace to help eliminate Gui. He also said that there was a possibility Sung-yeol had fallen in the battle. Upon hearing this, Yang-sun panicked and decided to look for him. Despite Ho-jin's attempts to stop her, Yang-sun still hurried to the palace. At the palace, a servant informed the king that the situation was safe because Gui had returned to his underground cave. However, the prime minister was nowhere to be seen. The king told Prince Lee Yoon that this day might be their last together. The prince revealed that he had learned of Seo Jin's whereabouts and planned to bring him to Gui before sunset, determined to end the vampire threat. Sung-yeol arrived at his house carrying the badly injured Baek In-hoo. He quickly saved Baek In-hoo's life by giving him his blood. After ensuring Baek In-hoo's condition was stable, Sung-yeol asked Ho-jin about Yang-sun's whereabouts. Learning that Yang-sun was looking for him, he immediately set out to find her, instructing Ho-jin to guard Baek In-hoo and not leave the house. Yang-sun finally reached the palace gates, but was denied entry by the guards. As she was about to leave, two young men who had once owed her money approached and expressed their condolences for her father's death. Meanwhile, Prince Lee Yoon and Hak Young posted notices in the village offering a large reward for finding Yang-sun. The village descended into chaos as many soldiers searched everywhere, but they still could not find her. Yang-sun managed to enter the palace disguised as a woman. However, when she entered Prince Lee Yoon's quarters, she ran into Hai Ryong. Hai Ryong was annoyed because she wanted to meet the prince. Sung-yeol, watching from the palace roof, saw Yang-sun daydreaming. He came down and approached her. Yang-sun felt relieved to see Sung-yeol was all right. When asked if she was afraid of him, Yang-sun replied that what she feared was not Sung-yeol, but losing him. Sung-yeol was the reason she felt safe and had a purpose in life. Hai Ryong went to the underground palace to report to Gui that she had detained Yang-sun. Su-hyang, still in Gui's cave, felt uneasy upon hearing this. Meanwhile, the king went to the well where Prince Sedong had been imprisoned, bringing a sword, determined to confront Gui. When Gui appeared, the king tried to stab him, but the attack had no effect. Finally, the king threw himself into the well. Gui then met Prince Lee Yoon and the prime minister, demanding to know who had helped the king in his plan. The prime minister revealed that Hak Young was the mastermind behind the mobilization of hunters and soldiers. Gui immediately bit Hak Young in front of the prince, shocking him. At Hwayanggak, there was a chest containing Hak Young, who had become a vampire, causing chaos. Hak Young attacked everyone there, including Ho-jin and Yang-sun. When Hak Young was about to bite Yang-sun, Sung-yeol appeared and fought him. However, when Sung Yeol tried to kill Hak Young with his sword, Yang Sun stopped him, so he would not kill Hak Young. Sung Yeol abandoned his intention to stab Hak Young after sensing Gui's presence. He carried the unconscious Yang Sun to his home. When Yang Sun regained consciousness, she was frightened upon seeing Sung Yeol, so he left to give her time to calm down. Sung Yeol met Baek and Hu and invited him to talk. Baek and Hu was shocked upon hearing Prince Li Yun's plan to take Yang Sun to Gui, according to the secret records. Sung Yeol assured him that sacrificing Yang Sun was not the purpose of the records. He planned to take Yang Sun far from everyone's reach and asked Baek and Hu to protect her if he failed. Meanwhile, in the cave, Gui spoke with Su Hyang about the commotion in Hwaeyang Gak caused by his vampire subordinate, Hak Young. He ordered Su Hyang to leave, but she refused, saying she was tired of being a servant and wanted to remain in the cave. At the palace, Prince Li Yun felt disappointed in himself after hearing Gui's prohibition against holding the king's funeral. Minister Choi Chul-chung reminded Gui that he had always been loyal, hoping to be the heir to the throne. However, Gui asserted that royal power was not easily granted. In his room, Sung Yeol discussed the plan to save Yang Sun with Baek In-hu and Ho Jin. He planned to send Yang Sun abroad to keep her away from danger. Yang Sun felt hurt after hearing that Sung Yeol wanted her to leave. Hai Ryong, the prince's wife, devised a strategy to bring Sung Yeol and Yang Sun before Gui. In order to protect Li Yun's position as king, she ordered her soldiers to spy on Sung Yeol's movements. Sung Yeol began to weaken because he had not drunk soy sauce. Knowing this, Baek In-hu took the initiative to hunt wild animals. Meanwhile, Su Hyang was playing a musical instrument before Gui. Suddenly, Hye Ryong came to meet them and told Gui that she had found the whereabouts of Yang Sun and Sung Yeol, asking him to confront them. However, Gui refused, saying he only needed Sung Yeol's black cloak to weaken his power so that Gui could easily attack him. Su Hyang, who overheard their conversation, remained silent, fearing something might happen to Sung Yeol. Yang Sun noticed drops of soy sauce and followed the trail until she saw Sung Yeol drinking soy sauce from a bowl, which frightened her. Sung Yeol realized Yang Sun's presence. Sung Yeol went to the forest in his weakened state and collapsed there. Suddenly, Hye Ryong appeared, making Sung Yeol think it was his vision of Myong-hee. Seeing Sung Yeol unconscious, Hye Ryong carried out her plan by taking the black cloak with the help of her soldiers. The man was then moved into a room that would not be exposed to sunlight when morning came. When Sung Yeol regained consciousness, he found himself burned by sunlight and realized his black cloak was gone. In his weakened state, he still tried to protect Yang Sun, who was about to be taken by the prince to Gui. Sung Yeol was willing to sacrifice himself to protect Yang Sun, which angered the prince. Yang Sun received soy sauce from one of the girls who had been helped by Sung Yeol. She then gave it to Sung Yeol, who accepted it kindly. She then asked Sung Yeol about the king's claim that she was the secret plan to destroy Gui. But Sung Yeol denied the statement. Yang Sun asked him not to fight Gui until he had fully recovered. Su Hyang met Hye Ryong at the palace to request the return of Sung Yeol's black cloak. Hye Ryong refused, explaining that the cloak was part of her plan to bring Yang Sun before Gui, so Prince Li Yun could confront him for the nation's safety. In the village, the residents gathered to discuss the announcement that each village must send a girl to the palace before the full moon. Otherwise, their taxes would be doubled. The villagers were worried, especially since the only unmarried girl in the village was Bom. When the soldiers came looking for her, Yang Sun ran to her house. Bom's father tried to protect his daughter, but the soldiers were convinced she was hiding and gave her father time until the full moon. Su Hyang met with Sung Yeol and informed him of Gui's plan. She stressed that surrendering Yang Sun could destroy Gui, but Sung Yeol refused. He insisted on protecting Yang Sun, even if it meant getting hurt. Yang Sun overheard the conversation, leaving her devastated and confused. As Su Hyang stepped outside, she met Yang Sun and revealed that she was a descendant of Gui through her maternal bloodline. Yang Sun was shocked and confused about her identity. When she returned, Sung Yeol welcomed her and invited her for a walk. Before that, Yang Sun gave him a pair of leather shoes she had worked hard on. They walked around the village together, enjoying a peaceful moment. Meanwhile, Baek In-hu and Ho Jin went to Seo Jung-do's house. On the way, Baek In-hu recalled his past and rushed to the palace to meet Prince Li Yun. However, he saw soldiers taking girls to the palace, causing chaos. Baek In-hu helped stop the commotion. Sung Yeol waited for Yang Sun, but she never came. He became worried, and went to the village, where he learned from Bom's father that Yang Sun had gone to the palace to surrender herself. Sung Yul was shocked and immediately went to look for Yang Sun. At the palace, Prince Li Yun was changing clothes with Hai Ryong's help. He was wearing Sung Yul's black cloak and was determined not to give it to Gui. Sung Yul returned to his residence at Yumseok Gol, where Ho Jin was waiting. He informed Ho Jin that Yang Sun had truly gone to the palace by her own will. Ho Jin also revealed that the maternal bloodline might not be enough to destroy Gui, which convinced Sung Yul that Yang Sun was not the key to defeating Gui. He was determined and ready to save her even if it meant facing Gui and great danger. At the palace, Yang Sun and the other girls were dressed elegantly. Su Hyang, who was in the room, was shocked to see Yang Sun. She decided to dress Yang Sun to be the most beautiful and stunning. Baek In-hoo was enjoying a meal served by 2 young villagers he had helped. They believed that the man in the black cloak Prince Li Yun was looking for was him. Elsewhere, Prince Li Yun was speaking with Minister Choi Chul-chung and No Chang-sun. They discussed rumors that a man in a black cloak had just helped village girls fight royal soldiers. Choi Chul-chung suspected the man was Sung Yul, unaware that the prince himself was wearing the cloak. The prince spoke with Hae Ryong, revealing his resolve to save the nation even if it meant sacrificing his friend, Seo Jin, also known as Yang Sun. Hae Ryong tried to calm him down, but the atmosphere changed when a soldier reported an emergency. The prince told Hae Ryong to say he was at a Buddhist temple. No Chang-sun met Gui in his cave. Gui showed him Hak Young, who had become a vampire, and threatened to continue torturing him unless he revealed Prince Li Yun's plan. Meanwhile, Sung Yul arrived at the palace and found it heavily guarded. As he was nearly caught, he was helped by a man in a black cloak who turned out to be a soldier of the prince. Sung Yul refused to hand Yang Sun over to Gui, even though he knew the plan was meant to destroy Gui. He revealed that the maternal bloodline, including Yang Sun's blood, was not enough to defeat Gui. The prince returned Sung Yul's cloak and warned him that the village girls were being held at Hwayangak. He also cautioned him to be careful when going there, as it might be a trap set by Gui. Even so, Sung Yul insisted on going to rescue Yang Sun. Upon hearing this, the prince decided to assign his soldiers to help Sung Yul rescue the girls, including Yang Sun. At Hwayangak, Sung Yul disguised himself as a soldier and managed to enter the girls' quarters. He urged them to leave, but heard that Yang Sun had already been taken away by Choi Chul-chung. Outside, chaos broke out when Baek In-hoo captured Choi Chul-chung. Sung Yul used the confusion to search for Yang Sun. He disguised himself as a soldier obeying the Prime Minister's orders to gain sympathy. Meanwhile, Yang Sun and Su Hyang arrived at the underground palace. They met No Chang-sun and Hae Ryong. Although Hae Ryong tried to stop her, Yang Sun still went to Gui's cave to surrender herself in order to save Sung Yul. Inside the cave, Gui smelled Yang Sun's blood and revealed that she was the daughter of the lustful scholar, Jo Sayang. As Gui was about to bite Yang Sun, Su Hyang tried to stop him by offering herself. However, Gui refused. He noticed vampire bite marks on Yang Sun's body, which made him hesitate. Outside the cave, Sung Yul fought Hak Young, who had turned into a vampire. Realizing his former human identity, Hak Young chose to end his life by stabbing himself with a knife held by the prince. This left the prince deeply shaken. Sung Yul asked the prince to stay outside while he entered Gui's cave. Inside, Gui was choking Yang Sun. When Sung Yul arrived and saw it, he was filled with rage. Gui, realizing his presence, let go of the chokehold. At the palace, Gui realized that Yang Sun was part of a secret plan to defeat him. He stabbed her neck with his fingernail, making her bleed. Sung Yul arrived to protect Yang Sun and Su Hyang, sparking a fierce battle with Gui. However, Gui's superior strength weakened Sung Yul. Gui mocked Sung Yul for losing his power due to holding back his vampire urges and trying to protect humans. To save him, Yang Sun injured herself and gave her blood to Sung Yul. This revived him, and he managed to wound Gui, while Su Hyang took Yang Sun away. Outside the palace, the Prime Minister arrived with a large army, intending to capture Prince Li Yun for defying Gui. However, the prince also received support from his own soldiers. A battle broke out between the two sides. Amid the chaos, the prince ordered Su Hyang and Yang Sun to escape with protection. Before leaving, Su Hyang warned the prince to be cautious of Hae Ryong, who turned out to be Gui's servant. Su Hyang and Yang Sun, hiding in the village, met Baek In-hoo. He took them to a safer place. Meanwhile, the the severely wounded Gui ordered the prime minister to capture Yang Sun and bring the prince to him. In captivity, Hai Ryong revealed to the prince that she became Gui's servant due to her father's coercion. Upon learning this, the prince promised to try to protect her. Elsewhere, Sung Yeol went into the forest, haunted by visions of himself as both a human and a vampire. This left him conflicted and unsure of his identity. Choi Chul Chung came to the prince's prison. His daughter, Hae Ryong, tried to persuade him not to harm the prince and to help him gain the royal throne. He agreed and brought his daughter before Gui as she wished. Hae Ryong tried to persuade Gui not to kill the prince. Gui agreed and declared that he himself would become king. He ordered the prime minister to prepare a grand assembly. Meanwhile, the prince was stripped of his robe and exiled. Elsewhere, Bacon, whose disguise to bring Yang Sun into the palace, failed, causing the soldiers to attack him. Suddenly, Sung Yeol appeared and fought off the soldiers, defeating them all. Baek-in Hu stabbed him with a sword, telling him to remember his human emotions. Suddenly, Yang Sun hugged him, causing his vampire urges to subside. However, he fainted, leaving Yang Sun worried. Inside the palace, the ministers rebelled over the issue of Prince Li Yun's removal from the throne. Gui used this situation to tighten his grip on power. Hae Ryong, trying to manipulate Gui, pledged her loyalty to support his ambition. Gui finally declared himself king, further worsening the chaos in the palace. Elsewhere, Gui recalled a story from 120 years ago about his pact with Taizhou, where they agreed he would protect the royal family in exchange for a descendant and being made king at night. However, Gui felt the agreement had not been honored, so he decided to end all pacts. At the palace, as the ministers gathered, Gui suddenly arrived with Hai Ryong and claimed the king's throne. Prince Li Yun faced a serious threat while in exile. Soldiers were ordered to kill him, but among them were those loyal to Hai Ryong. Conflict erupted between the two sides. Amid the chaos, Prince Li Yun tried to calm the situation and make them realize the truth. His efforts succeeded in gaining the support of some soldiers, although a few chose to flee. Meanwhile, in the palace, Gui declared himself king. One of the ministers opposed his decision, but Gui ignored him. He reminded them that the current government was built by him along with Taizhou. Gui ordered the ministers to bring treasures and silver as a condition for promotion. This command sparked great dissatisfaction among the ministers. Elsewhere, the severely wounded Sung Yeol was being treated by Hojin and Su Hyung. While sleeping, he had a strange dream about his family, Myung Hee, and himself turning into a vampire. In the dream, he met Yang Sun, who tried to help him find Prince Jongyun's journal. However, the dream ended tragically when Yang Sun died by stabbing herself on a knife held by his vampire version. He then woke up from the dream in fear. Yang Sun realized that Sung Yeol had regained consciousness. Sung Yeol asked her about his condition, not remembering the recent events that had occurred. Gui roamed around the palace, asserting his power through brutal actions. He even bit a royal soldier who dared to threaten him. Hae Ryong tried to warn Gui about potential resistance from the cabinet and the people, but Gui remained confident that humans could be easily subdued. Meanwhile, in the village, the people grew uneasy due to increasing vampire attacks. There, Gui tried to gain their attention by pretending to save them and claiming himself as king. Meanwhile, Yang Sun tried to lift Sung Yeol's spirits, even though she still felt guilty about everything that had happened. Prince Li Yun finally met with Sung Yeol and asked for his cooperation to fight Gui. The prince believed the vampire attacks disturbing the villagers were Gui's ploy to gain public support. He also promised not to use Yang Sun as bait, respecting Sung Yeol's feelings for her. Amid the struggle, Yang Sun wrote the story, The Scholar of the Night, to spread the truth to the people. The book began to influence the public, making them question Gui's leadership and believe in the Black Cloak Society and the Scholar of the Night who were helping to fight the vampires. At the palace, Gui held a meeting with cabinet members, discussing the spread of the Scholar of the Night book among the people and its influence. Gui ordered the books to be burned along with those distributing them. Suddenly, a soldier arrived and reported that vampires had appeared in Kangwa. Gui planned to handle it himself. However, the soldier said they had all been killed by the Black Cloak forces. Hearing this made Gui furious. The prince and Sung Yeol felt helpless after the battle. One of the village girls tried to help Sung Yeol stand up. The girl claimed she was the Scholar of the Night. This act drew sympathy from the people and encouraged them to help. Receiving such help confused Sung Yol, as the villagers showed no fear upon seeing him. Gui arrived in Kangwa with his troops, ordering the killing of the remaining villagers to erase any trace of Sung Yol's help. However, his soldiers failed to find any villagers. Enraged, Gui ordered a large reward announcement for anyone who could locate Sung Yol. The prince and Sung Yol gathered with the villagers of Kangwa. The prince encouraged Sung Yol, reminding him that the people believed he was different from Gui. Sung Yol stated that once Gui was eliminated, the people would need the prince. Meanwhile, the villagers roasted potatoes for food and shared them with them. Ho Jin informed Su Hyang and Yang Sun that the Night Scholar's book had influenced the villagers. When soldiers distributed wanted posters for Sung Yol, the villagers deliberately removed them, angering the soldiers. On the other hand, Sung Yol was worried about the prince's safety because the identity of the leader of the Black Cloak group had been discovered. A villager offered help to fight Gui, but the prince declined to protect them. Sung Yol and the prince then planned a strategy with the Black Cloak Alliance. Suddenly, royal soldiers arrived, and Sung Yol threatened them until they left. Sung Yol invited the prince to Yumseok Gol, but the prince wanted to check on the empress's condition first. Gui, furious after failing to capture Sung Yol, killed one of his soldiers in front of Choi Chul Chung. Sung Yol returned home and spoke with Yang Sun, who was writing the ending to the Night Scholar's story. In the main room, Sung Yol gathered with Ho Jin, Su Hyang, and Yang Sun to plan how to destroy Gui. Yang Sun suggested blowing up the underground palace, but there was a conflict with two of Sung Yol's servants. The prince met with Sung Yol, and they discussed the worsening condition of the palace. Sung Yol proposed the plan to blow up the underground palace, but the prince rejected it due to the high risk involved. At the palace, Gui decided to execute Empress Hye Ryong to lure Prince Li Yun. Hye Ryong wrote a confession letter to the prince, apologizing for her sins. After reading the letter, the prince decided to go to the palace even though he believed it was a trap. He left a message with a soldier that Sung Yol would lead the group if he did not return. The prince arrived at the palace and met Gui and Hye Ryong. Gui threatened to turn the prince into a vampire who would slaughter everyone near the palace, but the prince was confident he could control himself. When Gui tried to bite him, Hye Ryong stabbed Gui, but Gui retaliated by accidentally killing her. Sung Yol arrived and saved the prince. They returned home, where Sung Yol encouraged the prince to stay alive for the sake of the people. In the village, a student provoked the people to overthrow the vampire king. Ho Jin informed Sung Yol that a rebellion was about to happen. Sung Yol gathered the Black Cloak warriors in preparation. He asked Ho Jin to protect the prince and Su Hyang to watch over Yang Sun. It turned out Yang Sun overheard their conversation from outside, making her sad, but she continued to support Sung Yol. Before parting, Sung Yol and Yang Sun talked about the ending of the Night Scholar's story, where he would die alongside Gui for peace. Yang Sun hoped Sung Yol would return safely. Meanwhile, Gui, enraged by Hye Ryong's death, killed all of his soldiers in a fit of rage. Sung Yol led the Black Cloak warriors with a plan to storm the underground palace and destroy it to eliminate Gui. The royal assembly hall was filled with the corpses of soldiers, as a result of Gui's furious and frantic rampage. He swore to give Sung Yol a final gift that would never be forgotten. The situation inside the palace was utter chaos due to Gui's brutal massacre of humans. Meanwhile, Yang Sun decided to disguise herself as a man to join the rebellion. Su Hyang tried to stop her, warning that her actions could endanger Sung Yol, but Yang Sun remained determined. The prince came out of his chamber, intending to help Sung Yol despite Ho Jin's attempts to stop him. After hearing reports that Gui had slaughtered everyone in the palace, the prince decided to join Sung Yol's plan. Yang Sun offered herself to assist in the rebellion at the palace. The prince allowed it, but advised her not to think about death, as they were the country's last hope. Ho Jin also volunteered to join. The villagers began to rebel in front of the palace because the soldiers forbade them from entering. From a distance, Sung Yol and the Black Cloak group formulated a plan. They entered the palace and headed to Gui's underground lair, but got caught in a vampire ambush. Meanwhile, Choi Chul Chung arrived at the palace and ordered the soldiers to arrest the villagers, but was stopped by the prince. Sung Yol managed to defeat the vampires in the cave. He believed it was part of Gui's trap to weaken his power. Choi Chul Chung entered the palace to retrieve his belongings. Gui saw this and was enraged, killing him for being a traitor. The villagers insisted on entering the palace, but the prince asked them to wait outside. He instructed them that if he didn't come out before sunset, they must ensure that no vampire made it out of the palace. Sung Yeol saved a woman who was about to be bitten by a vampire, while the prince, Yang Sun, and Ho Jin prepared with royal weapons. They were attacked by vampires and nearly trapped, but Sung Yeol came and rescued them. Sung Yeol decided to lure Gui to the underground palace. The prince gave him the royal sword to aid him in the battle against Gui, hoping that Sung Yeol would return the sword as a sign of his victory. Yang Sun secretly followed Sung Yeol to the underground palace. There, she pleaded with him to drink her blood to increase his strength. Hesitantly, Sung Yeol finally bit her and drank her blood. Gui arrived, triggering a fierce battle. Meanwhile, the prince activated the explosives, causing the cave to gradually collapse. Sunlight streamed in, burning both Sung Yeol and Gui inside. In his final moments, Sung Yeol remembered Yang Sun before vanishing with Gui. The prince and Ho Jin watched the underground palace slowly collapse, feeling utterly devastated. Yang Sun regained consciousness and saw the ruins of the underground palace, feeling lost and heartbroken at the thought of losing Sung Yeol. The prince, Ho Jin, and Yang Sun opened the palace gates. The villagers and Su Hyang, upon seeing them, were thrilled and overjoyed that the vampires had been destroyed. 1 year later, the people lived in peace. The prince focused on preserving books for the future. Yang Sun, now a teacher, found hope in her book, The Night Scholar, which she had written. On their memory hill, Sung Yeol reappeared, shocking and delighting Yang Sun. She ran to hug him, promising to always be by his side wherever he went.